Don Revie, wanted to build a football club. And he realised the only way he could build a football club at Leeds United, he didn't have the finances to go out and spend big money. So he tried to attract what he considered to be the best young players in the country. And he managed to get quite a lot. So we grew up together. We had about 14 players that were at the club for a period of about 10 years. Nobody left. Everybody stayed at the football club. And it was a very successful time for the football club.
You've got to remember, in those days, players didn't move around. It's not like nowadays when there's freedom of contract. When your contract's up, you move to another club. And you don't get players staying at the one club for 10 years, for example. Now, Leeds United they must have had 15, 16 players that stayed at the club for 10 years or more. Players just did not leave Leeds United, so therefore they've grew up together. The manager at the time was a father figure to them, Don Revie. Remember, these boys have maybe came from school down from Scotland or Wales or Ireland at 16 years of age, and they're still there when they're 30. So there's a strong father and son relationship with Don Revie and these players.
He was manager supreme, really. Everything had to be done to perfection, drilled and trained to perfection. He kept a very tight control on the club and on the players. It was a tight discipline, and the players worshipped him.
When I could tell you a story about when I get called into a squad for a European match. I'd been doing quite well with the reserves and thought, well, I'm just along for the trip. We played Rapid Bucharest at Ellen Road, and the team got announced and I was in the team, and I thought I wouldn't even be on the bench or anything, and I was shocked. And he said, when Don Revie came up to me and he said, "Are you pleased?" I said, "Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted." I said, "But I would have liked my dad down at the game." He says, "He's been down here since yesterday." He already knew that I was playing and he knew I'd have wanted my dad there, so I had my dad in a hotel and my dad got to see the game. So it's little man management things like that endeared you. And as they say, there's a cliche about running through brick walls. Well, any of those Leeds United players would have run through a brick wall for Don Revie because he did things like that. He was very thoughtful towards his players and their families.
2 or 3 days a week we used to have to get in the manager's office, and he would be sitting there with a bottle of sherry, pints of milk and raw eggs, and he would mix it all in a glass and you had to drink it in front of him.
We had a cup game against Stoke that was postponed 12 times because of snow and ice. And we went up one afternoon, me and some friends, and Don Revie asked us if we would help put some stuff on the pitch to help get the pitch thawed. After we'd finished, he came in the dressing room with a tray of sandwiches and coffee for us all to drink and eat. And people couldn't imagine Alex Ferguson doing that today.
He'd take you away the night before a home game, for example, because most of the players had young families. I never at the time when Don Revie was there, but most of the players had young families, and they thought they got a better night's sleep if he took them to a hotel. And even if you reported to a hotel at midday, you'd drive your car to the ground, the team bus would take you to the hotel, you'd have a pre-match meal, and then you'd go into, the manager would go into tell you the team, go into detail about your opponents. So, I mean, we were probably working for a manager that was probably ahead of his time in those days. He was very, very meticulous.
It's fairly well known that Don Revie would give his players sort of thesis-sized dossiers to read about their opposition. These are players who barely finished their secondary education.
He liked you to know absolutely everything about the opponent you were playing against. So he had scouts and spies that would watch this particular team for the previous few weeks and see who's playing, how well they're playing, what foot they favour, if they're a good header of the ball, they're quick, they're slow, and things that you could hopefully take advantage of. So he was very meticulous that way.
He turned them into, I think, at the time, the most successful team in Britain.
People were against Leeds because I think there was a lot of jealousy because Don Revie had brought this team up and they were doing so well, and the other teams who were in the first division, they didn't like it.
Nobody liked us and everybody wanted to beat us because they felt that we were a bit cynical in the way we went about our business. I don't believe that. There were some fantastic players, and I think as the 70s progressed, I think they get more and more credit from the British footballing public about the way they played and the style of football they were playing. When we won the League Championship 73-74 season, a lot of experts said it was some of the finest football they'd ever seen in their lives.
I think the game, shall we say, was more physical then. You know, the players get away with a lot more then. The referees were more lenient. The game was probably tougher.
You had the hard men in the defence that would absolutely clatter anybody that showed the slightest skill.
Johnny Giles and Norman Hunter were two players that were fiercely competitive. I mean, fiercely competitive. And Billy Bremner just didn't want to lose football matches or get outdone with their opponents. And sometimes they'd bend their rule books, to say the least. I
was a different type of player. I played nearly 600 games for my football club, Leeds United, and I never get booked. So I used to watch them, but I never got involved.
I was no cuddly toy when I played, that's for sure. But I think I lagged behind a few of them.
There was a player called Rodney Marsh, used to play and played for England. He went to America, Rodney Marsh, and Rodney had a great trick. He would run into the box, and as a defender came close to him, he would clip his own heel and go forward as if the defender had clipped him.
There'd be 4 and 5 sending-offs every single week. There's absolutely no doubt about that. They've clamped down on, I mean, it's the tackle from behind, for example. I mean, that was legal in the days when we played, so that pretty much let you away with anything. There wasn't the cameras covering every single angle, so you could get away with things off the ball as well. So there was quite a lot going on, and referees then compared to now, well, there's an absolutely massive difference.
An old Chelsea Leeds United game on television not that long ago, and a present day referee was watching it, and he actually said that if I was refereeing that game now, they would end up with 3 players on each side because everybody else would have been sent off.
Today, people argue that the referees are protecting them too much. They're protecting the skillful players, and the tough guys have got to be either cleverer or tone their game down.
But it's just with television, it's more highlighted now, and it's difficult for players now, I think, to get away with anything. I mean, you look at some of the situations, trial by television now for players, and it makes it difficult for them.
In many ways, when you look back, Brian Clough was ahead of his time, because the thing that he wanted to do was to keep the ball on the ground, pass the ball, move it around, a team game.
Brian Clough was keep it simple, play it to feet, respect the ref, nice and easy, sensible football, sensible soccer.
That is now what the top teams who want to compete in Europe have got to do. You've got to retain possession. If you don't, very often playing a continental team, you may be 3 or 4 or 5 minutes before you can actually get the ball back. So we've had to learn to keep possession of the ball, hang on to it, get passing movements, and it requires a more patient game.
I mean, we had great fun when we played. It was a great time to play. It was also exciting football. Sometimes it was a bit, let's say, near the knuckle physically, but the top players always come through in the end. And it's the same as today. I mean, the top players will always shine.